morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for December 24th, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni. Coming up, Christmas tomorrow. Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to talk about Cooper Flagg beating the Nuggets, and we've got Weiss to talk about the Spurs owning the Thunder. Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve. What's up, Es?
Hello. Ho, 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 everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Enjoy.
Is ho, ho, ho a common greeting? Is that, where does that come from?
What do you mean? It's Santa. Of course.
Yeah.
I've even got the hat in my hand.
You've got the hat there.
I'm putting it on my shoulder like one of those guys who sweat, and they've just put the towel on the shoulder. Anyways, hello,
the terry cloth towel. Being
a
guy who sweats and is from the South, I resent that comment. Also a guy who sweats. Cooper Flagg put in some work last night. The Mavericks going against the Nuggets. Look, second night of a back-to-back. Like we can make a lot of excuses, but you still got to play the game.
Yep.
Mavericks pick up what I have to say is an impressive win for a team that looks like it's kind of finding its footing a little bit since AD has come back, and they put Cooper Flagg in my opinion in a better role where he's playing with other, with guards, guys who can handle and pass.
Yep.
All of a sudden this team looks like a real basketball team. And, tip of the cap to Nico, you see the vision. If Kyrie was out there, this team is pretty good.
This team would be really good if Kyrie was out here. Yeah, absolutely. Over the last month, they've been around middle of the pack on offense, middle of the pack on defense, which is a far cry for them being 26th overall on offense to start the year. Mm-hmm. It's just been a world of a difference. To your point, yes, they're playing more guards. Ryan Nembhard is playing more often. Brandon Williams is playing more often. That's allowed Cooper Flagg to slot into a more comfortable position as an offensive player. And it's also allowed him to expend more energy defensively. You see some of these weak side rim protection rotations that he's doing, or he'll shoot the gap and fill a passing lane and immediately cause a deflection or help the Mavericks get out and running. There's so many things that he can do defensively when he has that energy. And his mind isn't completely focused on, hey, I can't turn this ball over because I'm the point guard for this team. You have to say, Anthony Davis has been huge for him.
Absolutely.
Massive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I do want to say, speaking of him playing point guard, look, tomorrow we've got the morning shoot around over on YouTube. If you guys haven't joined us for our live stream, we're going to be taking mailbag questions tomorrow. I'm stealing a mailbag question from the shoot around for tonight's show. From longtime listener Oscar. He wants to know, what do you think about Dallas's decision to have Cooper Flagg run the point again, which has happened? He had 9 assists in the game last night. And why is it working better now than it was?
Because I think they're finding the right moments to do it. If you look at this game, they ran it in clutch opportunities more often. So to close the game. And why are they doing it in those moments? Because they eventually want Cooper Flagg to be that guy for them.
Right.
In those moments. And we've seen it all across the NBA. You need those jumbo wings to create for you. You think about Jason Tatum on the Boston Celtics. You think about LeBron James for a decade plus and what he's been able to do. Those jumbo wings have dominated the NBA for as long as the NBA has been around. And so Cooper Flagg is that type of archetype. He can lean into those characteristics when the going gets tough. And in clutch moments, you need his mid-range scoring. I think he has a really great knack for being clutch. He hit a huge shot tonight as well. Yeah. But I remember against the Pistons, he also settled into a mid-range shot and scored. So he's not afraid of the moment. And the crazy thing is, he's 19 years old. He had 33, 9-9. He's the youngest player ever to do that.
Ever to put up those stats.
That's absurd, man. That's crazy to think about. Think of all the talent and young talent we've had in this league. In our Christmas Day special, we talked about how LeBron had this absurd Christmas Day game as a rookie. What if
I'm expecting Cooper Flagg? He's on this run, man. And look, the room for growth is so obvious with him too. You look at where he's at right now. It's such a high floor. He shot 1 free throw in the game. I mean, this is a guy, he's not even getting to the line yet.
Yeah, this was his best three-point shooting night too.
When you consider the motor that he's got, his ability to put it on the floor, get his head down and get to the basket, I think those free throw numbers will go up. I mean, this guy, I'm starting to believe the hype. The early struggles or whatever, I think have maybe tainted what people think about him. But the guy right now, I mean, we can talk about Con Knippel as the rookie of the year or whatever, because he's been doing it a little bit longer. And I will say, man, that guy's elite.
He looks incredible
as a shooter. Yeah. But Cooper Flagg's not far off, even on the season as a whole.
I'm looking at this entire class as a whole, and I think you have 5, maybe 6, maybe more all-NBA guys, like future all-NBA players in Con Knippel, in Cooper Flagg, in Dylan Harper, in Derek Queen, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody, so I apologize for doing so. But like, the rookie class is absolutely stacked, and the fact that they're already impacting the game at a high level, it just goes to show you that this class is exactly what people touted it to be. So,
yeah. Let's talk about the Nuggets side of this a little bit, because look, they lost, and this is a team that shouldn't lose to the Mavericks, even on the second night of a back-to-back. It was a close game, but the Mavericks really own the majority of the game. The Nuggets make a really nice run in the second half. They had a 47-point third quarter, which was insane.
Jokic had 9 assists in that quarter, which is crazy. Yeah.
Jamal Murray goes off again. 14 assists for Jokic and Murray, right? They combined for 60 points and 28 assists. That is the story here, right? Is that every single thing that the Nuggets have going on offense is those two guys. And Cam Johnson hurt his knee, and now they're down a third starter. This game ends on a Peyton Watson missed shot that would have been either Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, or Aaron Gordon in any other circumstance. So, again, you tip the cap to the Mavs. This game's probably not close if the Nuggets are at full strength. But now they got to find a way again, even though they've been unhealthy to start the year and had the best start in franchise history. Man, the hits keep coming.
I think that's why they added this depth, though. Like, I think that's why Jonas Valanciunas is here. That's why Tim Hardaway Jr. is here. That's why Bruce Brown is here. They've also leaned on some of their other young guys and a Julian Strawther and a Jalen Pickett. I just think they're a deeper team than they've ever been. This is probably the deepest team Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have ever had around them. And this is what's allowing them to kind of deal with these blows. Now, losing Cam Johnson, to your point, is going to hurt them, especially when it comes to the extra creation department. Now there's going to be so much pressure on Murray, on Jokic to do every single thing. How does that bleed into how exhausted they are, how tired they get? I mean, if we look back and maybe in January, they've lost a couple games, point to this stretch where they're going to be injured and it's all those two guys that have to do everything. I think that's the main factor for them, I guess, midway through this season, especially through the lulls of the season, how they deal with tired legs. But overall, the depth is the reason they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. And
they got the Wolves on Christmas Day, which...
tough one. That's tough.
I mean, look, again, if Jokic, we'll see what happens. That guy, when the chips are down, it does seem like he finds a way to kind of step up a little bit. Let's talk about the Hawks. Trae Young has been back. How many games has he played since he come back, S? 3 games?
He's played 3 games. The Hawks have played 4. They've lost all 4 of them. And they gave up they gave up like 1 million points to the Bulls a couple of days.
That game was disgusting, by the way. No basketball game should see 300 points in regulation.
That was absurd. I can't believe I watched that. That was like watching Globetrotters game. But no, they improved. The Bulls and Hawks did improve. It was not 152 to 150. It was in the 120s this time. But the Bulls still won.
Yeah.
And so the question is, the Hawks have been off to a bad start with Trae Young. What comes next? Is this a Trae Young issue?
Look, we talked about this when Trae went down. Like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker really plugs into that starting lineup very nicely.
He does.
The two-way play, it allows Jalen Johnson to be more of the playmaker, and we talked about how he's the Swiss Army knife. I still stand on talent, and I still think Trae Young is a supreme talent in the NBA. I think that this guy, again, what he can do for you offensively, there's not a lot of guards that can do this. It's just whether it's a good fit for this team. Like, are they better off having the two-way guy or having Trae? I just don't know, because, I mean, we know come playoff time that Trae is a target. it's a pick on league. They're going to pick on him. Now, all of a sudden your defense is scrambling to cover. And then offensively, I don't know. He's not as much of a collaborative player as Nickeil Alexander-Walker, right? He doesn't play as much off the ball.
We, coming into the season, both of us said that this is the perfect type of team around Trae Young.
Right.
But that's a hypothetical. You have to see how it looks with him incorporated into the lineup. And I think part of that is buy-in on Trae to be a guy who can work off the ball more often. When he got hurt, they were running these cutting actions. Jalen Johnson was handling the ball more. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was handling the ball more. They looked better offensively, but then they would go through stretches where they couldn't create at all, right? That's where you need Trae Young. There's moments and times where Trae can really amp things up for them. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll actually be better. And truthfully, like you said, their ceiling is much higher when Trae is on this team. It's just about putting it all together and buying in on what their philosophy is, you know?
Yep. I look, they've got to figure out the center rotation.
Yeah.
That is a major
source
with
Porzingis now, I don't
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to go with that.
Anyway, look, I'm not as high on the Hawks now as I was coming into the year, sadly, but I still think that they're a better team than what we've seen here recently. Guys, stick around. After the break, we're going to talk to Jared Weiss, who was in San Antonio to watch the Spurs beat the Thunder again. Woo, the Thunder lose to the Spurs again. Our man Jared Weiss was in the building because, covers the Spurs for us over at The Athletic. Jared, I got to ask you, the Spurs moved to 2-0 over the Thunder. Have they broken the Thunder? Have they figured them out?
Oh, God.
It's over, guys. The Thunder dynasty lasted one season because Devin Vassell had like 14 points. Or actually, it was Harrison Barnes with his 18. He finished with 18. He finished with 20. Look at that. Yeah. Harrison Barnes had 20 points. So just like wrap it up. J-Dub, trade him.
Right.
Chet, a bum. Hartenstein, he was okay while it lasted. Okay, so this has been the question. Is this a rivalry? And you ask Wemby, you ask Mitch Johnson, I asked Devin Vassell this question. They would say no. The Thunder just won an insane amount of games last season. They won a championship, and then they won an insane amount of games to start this season. The Spurs have had their number these last two games. And, have their number, is a connotation of like, oh, they figured it out and everything is different now. They won 2 games and they did a good job. And hey, the fourth quarter, they destroyed the Thunder and their offense was humming. Their defense looked good. So the Spurs are not better than the Thunder yet. Obviously not. Let's not be ridiculous, but this matchup is going their way and the Thunder need to show something. In particular, like Chet Holmgren offensively, he needs to find a way to get really involved in these games. And the Spurs, their defensive pressure, especially in the fourth quarter, has been really effective against this Thunder team. And they've done a good job of taking everybody out of the game besides SGA and J-Dub. And J-Dub had to take a lot of shots early on to even get involved. And then they didn't really do a ton in the second half. So the Spurs have the recipe to beat the Thunder. The Spurs have the recipe to beat anybody in the league, apparently. Doesn't mean that they're better, but they're doing this, and Wemby is like, what do we think he is right now? Like 70% of his capability, 70% of what he was doing before he got hurt, which wasn't even his best basketball. Like, they have a lot of room to improve here.
Still coming off the bench, Victor Wembanyama.
He's going for 6th man of the year. I mean, why change it? You can play French vanilla still. Like, you can get into that lineup. I mean, it's not, Cornette's been great.
The thing is, if he wants 6th man of the year, he has to beat Keldon Johnson out, who actually might be the 6th man of the year right now. He had 25 points in this game. It's the same amount of minutes as Wemby.
Jared, outside of the Thunder, OKC, and San Antonio rivalry, the Spurs have been playing awesome basketball this month. 9-1. They're a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Maybe the thing that might surprise people the most is how good they've looked offensively because of the amount of questions that we had coming into the season about it as your light goes out. What have you seen outside of the OKC games with what this team has looked like over the last month or so?
I would say that this last game here epitomized what they've been all year, which is that they've been a high pressure defense, that they create turnovers well. They run well off of those turnovers. They had 10 steals in this game. They had 19 fast break points to 5 for the Thunder. Honestly, the crazy part was they had 24 free throw attempts and the Thunder had 7.
Yeah.
Like it was Shea got to the line 2.5 times, and then Isaiah Joe was the only other guy that got to the line. Like the Spurs thing has been, they can put pressure on you with their guards because they have a bunch of guards that are good on ball. They are aggressive at the passing lanes. We saw like Dylan Harper had just a phenomenal second half, or really like that third quarter, he was phenomenal defensively, and that really blew this game open. And he finished with 10 assists. And they just they always, they have 3 point guards, right? And Harper's already really good. Castle's been very good this season. Like I don't know if he's going to be an all-star just because there's so much talent in the league, but he's like clearly on track he could be an all-star very soon. Absolutely. And then like between those guys and De'Aaron Fox, there's always 2 guys having a really good game.
Right.
And so teams don't get a break from the Spurs having someone that can carve up their defense. All 3 of those guys have been getting like 2 feet in the paint over and over and over again. And all 3 of them do it in slightly different ways. Like Harper's kind of like a combination of what Castle and Fox can do. Yeah. Then Fox is just so savvy. And then Castle, he just kind of like gets in the split stance and he just kind of split stances his way all the way through the lane. Then he just like jumps. Right? Yeah. Then he just like jumps in the air and hangs in the air forever.
Down. Yes. Yeah.
Can you call it a decel dribble if he just walks into the shot? Like
it's a stone cold Steve Austin dribble is what it really is. Yeah, the way he walks to the ring, it's the same way that he dribbles to the basket.
He decelerates.
It's funny that you brought this up because, you look at the box score and you see De'Aaron Fox scores 6 points. Dylan Harper scores 4 points. Those guys combined for 19 assists. The Spurs were getting looks early and often, and it paid off throughout this game. The way that they are able to churn possessions in the paint for like this offense, these 3 guards, it's incredible. I want to talk about De'Aaron Fox because this is an all-star guy who worked to get himself to San Antonio, and he is going to struggle to make another all-star team. This is actually a pretty rare scenario. He is playing adult basketball, like to a degree. Like we talked about Harrison Barnes when the Spurs signed him. It's like, all right, get a vet out there. This is a whole nother level of sacrifice that we're seeing from De'Aaron Fox. Like, what is it like when you watch a guy like that defer to a first and second year player like Dylan Harper and Steph Castle? Like that is maybe never happened before.
Here's the thing. I think you're probably right. It never feels like anyone's deferring on that team. Their offense is feeling very naturally egalitarian. And this is what's really been special about what's happening with the Spurs this season is they couldn't make their offense happen the way they designed it until Wemby went down. And it's like they needed to lose Wemby in order to have the freedom for them all to figure out how everyone else plays together. Because it was a lot of just figuring out how do we play through Wemby. And it's been even more of a blessing in disguise that Wemby has been a little limited in how much he can play, and he's coming off the bench. And so it just forces them to start their games with their overall identity. And the hard part for them has been figuring out how to get Wemby involved. Like Wemby is just not involved as much as he usually would be. And they're still winning, and now they're beating the Thunder. And they were close to the Knicks. Like there's not a lot separating them from the top of the NBA right now. So I don't really ever see them really having to sacrifice. It just kind of happens naturally that they spread the wealth really well. And they have a 9-man rotation that's as deep as any team in the NBA. They're facing the team with probably the best 9-man rotation, and they're going tit for tat with them on that. So, this team is just, it's spread very evenly, and it's going to change every single night who's the guy that scores a lot. And every single one of these games, it's like Fox has a down game, Castle has a lot of points, Harper has a lot of steals and assists, and then it just kind of flips around. And these guys, I think what's going to hurt Fox for the All-Star thing is just that he's going to have a lot of nights where he doesn't put up big numbers, and it's going to hurt his averages a little bit. Yeah. And I think he's fine with it. I don't think he cares. He doesn't seem to care.
When you're winning, it does not matter. Yeah. That's the part about it. Like when you're 9-1 over the last month and everybody's firing on all cylinders, it doesn't matter if you're not getting the numbers. Also, Jared Weiss says the Spurs don't need Victor Wembanyama anymore. Clearly,
that's right. They figured out the offense. Who needs him?
They figured out the offense.
He's a backup big. Who needs him?
Honestly, the question is like, how do they incorporate him into this whole thing moving forward? Because they did find an identity without him. The post touches stuff that they were doing before he got hurt. How does that work now? But looking ahead to Christmas Day, what do you expect going into OKC? Because it was loud in that arena in San Antonio. They had the Fiesta Court. I saw the post game with Victor Wembanyama doing the soccer clap, which I love, by the way.
That was cool.
Travel, right? I need more of that. Yes. Yeah. You talk about the travel. Dave actually mentions it in our Christmas Day preview. The Spurs fans will travel to OKC. What kind of environment are you expecting in Oklahoma?
Probably an environment like this. And, I just started covering the Spurs this season, and I've been waiting for one of these nights where the crowd goes crazy and my ears are ringing. I mean, I protect my ears. I always have earplugs in, but I need to do that. I've been doing that for years.
You have to do it in San Antonio, especially. It is the loudest DJ system in the NBA. Sorry to
is it really?
Yes, it is so loud. I do not miss that. The crowd's great though. Sorry, Jared, not to interrupt.
Well, the crowd's been okay this year. It hasn't been great this year. It's been better for sure than it has been in the past, but it hasn't been electric like what I've been used to going to. I lived in the Northeast for a long time, and you have three of the craziest fan bases up in the Northeast. And so this game, I pulled out my Apple Watch and I turned on like the noise meter to see how many decibels. It was like almost hitting 110, which is like kind of dangerous, honestly. And that's the kind of environment they're trying to cultivate here in San Antonio. And the Thunder fans have been doing that, when the team has been competitive for a long time. They've had a great fan base. And so I think we're expecting to see the same thing there in Oklahoma. And this is all coming from, there's a reason why the Spurs fans were louder in this game than any other game that I've been to in San Antonio so far this season. This is the rivalry. This is the rivalry in the game right now. And you ask them, it's not a rivalry, and I get that. They, especially the Spurs, they do not want to claim this to be a rivalry because they're trying to be humble. They're trying not to piss off the Thunder too much here. They don't want the Thunder to be trying any harder against them. It's a smart thing to do, but we get to decide.
Yeah.
We get to call it. We're the media. We get to tell you if it's, and then the fans get to decide if they agree.
Right, exactly.
And we all feel like this is turning into something special because we all know where this is going, and we're a long ways away from it, Dave.
No, we are.
I know
we're there, Jared.
No, Dave is fully there. Dave is already halfway.
I will just say right now, we have a lot of Spurs fans that listen to this show, and we have a lot of Thunder fans.
Hi, everybody.
That listen to this show. Everybody. And I think the ethical hoops comment from Victor Wembanyama struck a chord with both of those fan bases. I think that there's a reason that you see when he and Chet are on the court, they go at each other a little bit harder. I mean, it's a rivalry. I think the Spurs look at the Thunder as what they want to be. And that's awesome. It's fun. I mean, especially because they're both young teams. I mean, they're both still hungry.
I'll just add this, they're both young teams. They also have a pretty heated rivalry going back to the KD Russ years at the same time. It was a pretty good rivalry.
But Tim Duncan's not going to be out there doing anything. I mean, I think the rivalry that's happening right now is as real as any old one. Yeah, for the fans, of course. For the fans, and Spurs fans, look, they are relishing this win, just like they did last weekend. And I'm telling you guys, don't sleep on the Spurs winning on Christmas Day. I can feel it. I think, look.
Boy, if they do, this sure as hell is a rivalry at that point. There's no question anymore.
That story. All right, guys, that's it for this show. Thank you to Jared for hanging out. Thanks to Es Baraheni as always. I'm Dave DuFour. Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a safe and happy holiday, and we'll talk to you guys next week